our next level chef, Pyet.
I am the next level chef.
Hey, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast, the podcast where we try to broaden perspectives, all while going off the rails. In this episode, man, back to back. Okay, I took a week break, but let's call it back to back. Back to back, we have next level chefs, and not just any next level chef. We have the champ. The champ is here.
The champ is here.
Do you watch wrestling? Is it like the Johnson?
Yeah.
John Cena? It just hit me right there. The chef champ. All right, that's it. I'm calling you the chef champ.
There you go.
And my Spanish, my Mexican accent might come out half the time I call you I might say chef and I might say chef. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, your show, your words.
Hey, feel free to be comfortable. Make fun of me.
I will. Don't worry about it.
Ah, damn it. I knew you were already planning it. All right, so we have Chef Pyet, the first next level champ. See, it almost came out. Chef champ.
Mm-hmm.
From Next Level Chef. And I'm excited. This is awesome. I'm nervous. I just told her why I'm a little nervous because this is the first time we're actually talking. But it's going to be fun. So sit back, buckle up. Let's go. Too hard, too fast. Boom.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Welcome back
to Too Hard,
Too Fast.
Anything that rolls downhill, man.
And the old habits die hard, right?
It's the podcast by the people, for the people.
Where I'm going too hard, too fast.
When we are double fisted on that ass.
Only here, too hard, too fast. Let's do it.
It's your girl, Chef Pyet, with Too Hard, Too Fast, where I'm going to be spilling the tea.
Let's go. Vamos.
Vamos.
So welcome everyone to Too Hard, Too Fast podcast.
That's right. Where we go off the rails and George has to worry about it. So here we go.
To the podcast of the century.
Cheers.
Chef. So, Pyet, I'm not gonna go into a lot of the show stuff. I want to I want to talk about your experience building up, but not really like ask you like, oh, look what happened in episode 6 and what happened in episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into that because I feel like everybody's already listened, and if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it because it really is like a whole new, should I say, a whole next level show.
It really is. And you can actually binge watch it on Hulu. And if you don't have Hulu, you can just steal your cousin's password like we all do, you know.
Yep. Or like brothers, and I'm talking to you, Robert. I need my Hulu back.
There you go.
I know you changed the password on it. I'm kidding. But before we get all that started, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I am actually doing a sobriety challenge. So I'm not drinking alcohol at the moment. I'm trying to get my mind, body, and spirit in tuned and connected. So I'm not drinking alcohol. But today I have a very special drink that I'm drinking. It's in this jar, this little mason jar here. It's actually a tea that I just got gifted to me from my friend's mom. So I spent some time on the Navajo reservation over the weekend. And she harvested this wild tea from her
marijuana plant.
It's just a little bit. No, she harvested this tea from her yard, and it's like Navajo tea. And so that's what I'm drinking today. It's like this really long, like stringy plant. And then you just like wrap it up into these little bundles and you like dry it out and then you steep it for tea. So that's the drink that I'm drinking tonight is a Navajo tea. What about you?
Well, I'm gonna let you know it's a little green as well. But does it make you feel funny or caffeine wise or nothing?
No, I don't think it has any caffeine in it. I think they're just like it's just a plant that helps like with cramping or like hydration. It helps with like cleaning out your system, kind of like the same thing as green tea, but I don't think this one has caffeine.
Oh, okay. And it doesn't make you run to the restroom in like 2 hours.
No. I mean, it does in a way like help like your digestive system, but it doesn't give you the shits if that's what you're asking.
Or the chorro as we like to call it.
Yeah, it doesn't give you the chorro.
Okay, so I'm drinking since we're doing a sober episode. I'm drinking this mineral water, lime.
1877. That's a Texas brand.
Yes, and it's I think, I mean, by HEB. So I don't know if you know what HEB is.
No, what is that?
So it's like our biggest grocery store here in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And
Cool.
in the good parts of Texas, the other parts they don't have it. They have
At the
Piggly
hood.
Wiggly or something.
Yeah,
No, the hood has HEBs. They just don't have like the good stuff too.
Oh, okay. I used to shop at Piggly Wiggly when I was younger. We don't have them in Kansas anymore. They closed down.
Oh, that's right. You are from Kansas, but you're in
Yeah.
LA right now, right? Or
I'm in LA. I live in LA at the moment. Yeah.
interesting. Okay. I feel like I was talking mess about certain parts of Texas, and that they're gonna disown me if I don't apologize. But it's also a Texas thing to not to apologize.
Yeah. Don't apologize. You said what you said.
I said what I said. Too hard, too fast. We don't check facts. So mineral, I love this, and this is the first time I'm actually trying the lime. I usually just buy the regular one. So,
Okay.
I don't know.
Try it out. Okay. Cheers. Oh, wait. You didn't even cheers me. Okay. Cheers.
Cheers. Sorry to winning. Chef Chuck.
Yeah. Cheers to winner chicken dinner.
Literally, in your case.
Yeah. Literally.
But oh, that's actually really good. So you can actually taste the lime. The thing of like, I kind of like, I don't think it's natural lime. So like 1877, I'd like it because supposedly it's like very good for you, as opposed to like Topo Chico that it's supposedly not. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Too hard, too fast. We don't check facts. I like 1877, and they're local. It's an easy buy.
This is not sponsored.
Not sponsored at all either. No, but if you want to sponsor me, HEB or 1877, let's go. You mix this with some tequila, vámonos.
See, if I was drinking an alcoholic drink tonight, I would be the same as Amber, and I would be drinking something with mezcal. I'm a huge mezcal and tequila drinker. Like, I'm also Mexican American, so that mezcal is like, I feel like it runs through my DNA.
See, I hate that you already divulged that information, because I wanted to like pretend that I did really good research.
It's okay.
No, but you know what? I did want to call you out on the fact that like you kind of, and not in a bad way, calling you out, but calling you out.
Okay.
It to me it seems like you lean more into the indigenous side, and that's fine. I'm not talking mass.
But
Percentage, is it more?
Okay, so I'll tell you why. So I actually grew up on a reservation. So I didn't grow up in Mexico. I didn't, like the family that I was exposed to are Mexican American. And culturally, I do lean more to the indigenous side, because I was raised knowing more of my indigenous roots and understanding like what it means to be indigenous, and like the spiritual beliefs and the cultural practices. Like, I lived that. I didn't grow up in Mexico, so I feel more native, but also at the end of the day, like, 20% of Mexicans also identify as indigenous. So I'm a firm believer in the border crossed us, we didn't cross the border. There are so many different parallels that connect the two cultures together, even though there's a cultural influence from Spanish in Mexico, and with the language and a lot of the like Catholicism and beliefs, spiritual beliefs, but at the root of all of that, Mexicans are indigenous people too.
So how did you like balance that growing up, like knowing, or can we talk percentage? Like, are you like 50-50 or?
Yeah, so no, I'm not. So my dad is Mexican and white. My grandma is like Spanish, which we always thought she was French, like Spanish French. Our last name is DeSpain. It doesn't get any more Spanish than last name DeSpain. That literally translates like from Spain or of Spain. And so for the longest time, we thought my grandmother was like French or Spanish. So we didn't really know. And then my mom's side, my grandfather is also Spanish and Native American, and they're also Mexican. My mom's dad, and her biological mother is full blood Native. So there's like a big mix in there of all of that. So I did the 23andMe test, and I found out that it's half. It's half and half. So it's 47% is Native American, Indigenous, and then the other percentage is all I think it's Eastern European, which was the biggest percentage of that was Spanish, Portuguese. And then there was like a small sliver of like British Irish in there, which I believe does come from my grandmother that's like basically white. But the funny thing is like my grandma, even though she's a güera, like she's white, she speaks fluent Spanish. Like she is basically a Mexican woman. It's so freaking weird. And all of her baby daddies are Mexican. So all of my tias and tios, like all my uncles, like they all speak Spanish. So I grew up like knowing both cultures, you know. But I didn't know a lot about like Mexico because I didn't grow up there. I'd only been there like a few times in my childhood. And so I wasn't really exposed to that part of like the culture and like the traditions. All I knew was like being Mexican American, which is kind of like twice removed from Mexico. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when people are like, oh, like you, like, you know, same as you lean more towards being your indigenous side, but that's just because that's the way that I was raised. I know that history. I know that knowledge. I know those beliefs. I didn't know a lot about Mexico until I got older and I started seeking that information and asking more questions. And my dad's biological father, was not present in his life. So my dad also didn't get that cultural knowledge. It was just all stemmed through my grandmother and what she could relate to us just through her passion for the culture and for the people and for the men, apparently. So that's basically how that works. So it's like, you know, growing up, it's like I wasn't Mexican enough. And as being Native, like I'm a half breed. So it's like I had a lot of cultural identity issues growing up and not knowing like where I would fit in. But I just leaned more into like what felt natural to me, which is my Native side.
All right. So the reason I asked about the percentages was because I had a coworker years ago tell me that I think she was a certain percentage Native American. And she told me her tribe, and I already forgot, but that her dad could live on the reservation, but she couldn't because she wasn't the right amount of percentage. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's why I was asking you, like, because I read or saw somewhere that you did grow up in the reservation.
Mm-hmm. So the thing about percentages is something that was basically influenced by the colonizers of this country, because once treaties were signed and the government started allowing, you know, gaming and a means of indigenous people on their land to make money for their people, then the colonizers or the country government said, okay, well, if you're going to distribute money to your tribe, we need to put a tracking on who is a member of your tribe. And then they started basically saying if the quantum blood count for this tribe is however much percent, so you have to be, blood count has to be of this percentage to have the ability to seek the benefits from being Native American in this country, which is really screwed up because there's so much that's happened and so many people that have been removed and so much intercultural, you know, breeding at this point that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, my great grandma was a Cherokee princess and blah blah blah, and everybody wants to like claim that they're Native American because they think culturally it's cool, but they have no idea what it means to be Native American. But then you have these people that also still live on the reservation that don't have that quantum blood count, and by law or by the state, by this, you know, government system says like, okay, you're not Native enough to receive these benefits of being Native because of your quantum blood, but they grew up in the culture. They know all of the, you know, ceremonial, traditional things. And so it's really kind of messed up. I've never heard of anyone not being able to live on the reservation, but because, I mean, I think that's what the goal ultimately is to get to live on the red.
Well, because I was thinking in the fact that if like maybe people want to get away with certain things or escape with life, and they just claim that they're Cherokee or
Yeah.
Choctaw or whatever.
I guess so. I mean, that could be a thing too. I've never heard of that. I don't know anyone that wants to live on the res because it's not a privileged life at all. You know, I guess if they're escaping from murder or something, cool, but they're out in the boonies somewhere. It depends on the tribe. But for the most part, people aren't like, oh, I want to live on the res. It's more so like people trying to get off the res because of
What
all
if
of
the reservation should I call it? Should I just start calling it the res so I can be
Please.
cool?
Yeah, call it the res. That's what we call it. That's what everyone else. Have you seen Res Dogs, the show?
No, I want to. There's so
You
much
gotta
stuff on
watch it.
TV. I want to.
So good. You know, I know this is a little bit off track, but when I saw that show come on, I was like, "Are you joking? Like, this is amazing!" And it actually takes place in Oklahoma too. That's where I grew up. That's where I was born. I grew up in Oklahoma, and I was like, "Holy cow!" Like my childhood is on TV. Like no one that lives on the res would ever think that their childhood or things that they could resonate with is going to be on television. I grew up my whole life thinking no one will ever understand me and the way that I grew up because it's an unknown world and now it's on TV. I'm like, damn, like this is amazing.
Well, I see your show, and I'll raise you a different show.
Okay.
Also on Hulu, This Fool, and it's about Cholo Mexicans,
Oh my
and it's
god.
hilarious. It's
Okay,
fucking hilarious.
I'm gonna have to watch that too. I don't get a chance to watch TV that often, but that's on my list.
Okay, where I grew up in Eagle Pass, it's a border town, yes, where it's mostly Hispanic, mostly Mexican American, mostly Mexicans that, don't send us back kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Don't send me back. But the culture was, even though it was very Mexican cultured, we did have or we do actually still have a tribe there, the Kickapoo tribe.
Mhm.
And so I can see when I was growing up that it wasn't for me at least, and this is just an outsider's point of view. Yeah, it's not like a very privileged way to live, but also I was never not a privileged person either. Like I didn't grow up with money, or at least my
Mhm.
mom told me we never had money. But there was they did live like right outside the city limits, and it was almost like weird. Like you couldn't really go into their place. Like I had friends that were Kickapoo, and I never got to go visit, and I then never got. The only time I saw them was at school.
Okay.
So that's about it. And then I remember like it was elementary, the most part where I saw them, and after like that, like middle school, maybe a few, and then high school, almost nothing.
Okay. Wow.
And I don't understand that, but we also have a casino, and everybody knows Eagle Pass because of the casino,
Mhm.
and they just know that it's on the reservation, and so they do their own policing and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So it was just like a weird way to grow up, knowing that they exist, but also we don't know too much about them.
Yeah. Nobody knows anything about Native American history these days. The good thing is that there are a lot of documentaries now on Netflix and Hulu and things that are educating people. And I think this is a beautiful, amazing time for Indigenous people to have a voice finally. Because for centuries, like for years, we were silenced. And I was, here I come as a mixed Native American, Mexican American woman as a chef in general is very rare, to be successful enough to be put on a Gordon Ramsay show, and then not only be put on a Gordon Ramsay show, but also talk about my heritage where my ancestors were shushed and like you can't talk your language, you can't talk about your culture, you can't be proud to be who you are, you need to be colonized, you need to be civil people, and like we got to cut your hair and I have to dress like us. And it was like, it's so empowering to have that part in this movement of Indigenous people of having a voice. And it's so remarkable and incredible. But yeah, not a lot of people know about the culture, which is why I'm so heavily passionate about making sure that I'm representing my people in a positive way. If I'm going to be on a platform, I sure as hell better do something positive about it. I could easily just show up as just some cute girl that cooks food, but that's not what I'm about. And that's not what my ancestors' prayers were set out for me to do. So I feel in a way that what I'm doing is fulfilling my true life's purpose, but also I am doing my part and withholding my responsibilities to keep those traditions alive. And so that way I can educate people about how important these traditions are, this knowledge is, to be proud of who I am, when for so long Native people were told not to be proud, you know?
Right. And so that I do want to touch on that. I do want to also talk about, like, not just you being on the show and how amazing that is in itself. The fact that you kind of you pretty much did a 180 with your life and took a chance. Pretty much, I saw somewhere that you were homeless for a while.
I know the grit and the fight that I put out, living out of my car, trying to make this dream happen.
So I want to talk about that in a little bit, but touching about being hush hush and all that, the way at least with the Mexican culture, it's like, oh, keep your head down and just do what you're supposed to do, and whatever. But then with the indigenous side, I think you can bring some perspective on that. Like, are you guys told almost the same thing? And some of my friends even were like, oh, we're not allowed to leave the reservation for too long, or we're not, like, if we decide to move a certain place, like, they disown us, like that we lose all privileges or whatever that comes with living on the reservation.
I mean, I think from family to family, tribe to tribe, it's very different. I can't speak for everyone's experience of living on the tribe or on the reservation and coming from different tribes. I can only speak from my point of view and what I've been exposed to and the knowledge that I have. From my knowledge, it's one thing, like, we like indigenous people or indigenous children are taught that this is our way of life and it's our responsibility to stay within this means and this way of life. And it's not, a good thing to want to be out in this material world, because it separates you. That materialism, it separates you from the spirit world of, like, it basically creates a block between you and the spirit world, and you in connection with Mother Earth, your connection with Creator, your connection with all of, and which is light and truth and healing. And so when you leave the reservation and you're exposed to these bigger cities, and it teaches you to keep up with the Jones, it teaches you to be a part of the rat race, it teaches you to be separated from that belief system. And I think it is a little bit frowned upon, but at the same time, living on some of these reservations is grueling. It's hard. It's living in extreme poverty. And what you would think as a campsite, like you and your family are going to go camping, you're living outside, you're cooking outside in the fire, you're like sleeping on rocks. Like, that's some people's everyday life to this day. And so for people to say, no, you don't leave this, is selfish. So some parents are like, please do leave this, go out into the world, do something great, but don't forget about your roots. And anything and everything that you do, you should instill that belief system into that and keep that as your core and as your, stay in alignment with that. And so I think it goes hand in hand with, indigenous people, Native American people wanting more for their people. And the only way that can happen is if these kids and these people like myself go out into the world and teach the importance of that culture and stay true to ourselves. And even if you're not teaching people, at least you're keeping it within yourself while you're on that journey to better yourself, to become more successful, to have the financial stability to help those people that still live on the reservation. But we are taught, that our existence is not important. If you look at things that have happened recently in the past with when Trump was running for presidency, and I'm not here to speak about politics really, but there's something that happened while the polls were being, put on the screen of what ethnic background or race were people voting from. So it had like Caucasian white American, had African American, had Hispanic, and then there was a section, and there's Oriental or Asian people, and then at the bottom was other, and that was what represented Indigenous people or Native American people of this country was other. So it's like we're taught every day that our existence doesn't matter, and like what we want to do and what we are as people, like we're not recognized as even human beings anymore. You know what I mean? We're other.
Yeah. So like you're saying at some point, because I remember seeing Native Americans as a checkbox forever, but then as of recently or since then, you just became the other box.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy though. It's really crazy. It's really sad, which is, and the same with Mexican Americans or Mexicans as well. They come here from Mexico to live a better life, to get away from the crazy politics and the what are they called? The mafia.
Corruption.
Yeah, the corruption.
El cartel.
The cartel. Yeah. So it's like all the corruption that's there, people like basically facing, it's life or death for some people. And they come to this country and they try their very best to get rid of their accent, to become more American, to be, one of those like whitewashed Mexican families. They're encouraged to do that. So they're under the radar and that no one's messing with them. They're like, oh no, we're American. And I have friends that, write books about this, about you talk like a white girl, and she's like, what does that mean? You talk like a white girl, like, how are you Latina, but you sound like a güera, and she's like, I was taught to be educated and to not talk with this accent because then it will bring, too much attention to me that will be unwanted,
Yeah, but then you do that and it's like, oh, ¿quién te crees? Who do you think you are, man? Like
exactly. I know. So it's like it's a win or lose situation for both groups of people of like keep your head down, don't cause too much attention to yourself. And it's really sad, that it's either you're facing assimilation and turning into something that is Americanized and that's not really you, it's not your culture, or like the possibility of being deported or like being racially discriminated against. That's right. The country that we live in. And don't get me wrong, like being in America provides a ton of opportunity for people. It really, really does. But there's two ends of the sword.
Oh, I mean, I talk about it and I joke about it in both ways. But I mean, if anything, I think Native Americans should be treated with more respect. And it's weird that it's not. Because, like, if you really think about it, like, you guys, and I don't know if it's offensive to say you guys.
No, it's okay. You can say that.
It's like Native Americans were the true ones here before anybody else, regardless of not just country-wise, but just on this part of the world, on this side of the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, that comes with, even the Mexican culture. Yes, by now, my culture is probably more mixed into like the Spaniard conquistadores that came and took over the Aztecs and the Mayans and all that. Mm-hmm. And funny that I did it. I don't know if it was 23andMe or one of the other DNA stealing cloning organizations, but I did one, and I'll tell you, I the only reason I did it was because forever I was always told that I look Pacific Islander or like Hawaiian or something.
Yeah.
And so, that got in my head and I was like, maybe I am like the Rock's cousin or something. Dwayne, I am related to Dwayne Johnson. So
that would be good. Be like, hey cousin, let me hold some money.
Yeah, right. It was like, put me in wrestling.
Yeah.
But it also because my grandmother on my dad's side, she was always told she looked Hawaiian, Pacific Islander too. So then I started buying into it. I was like, okay, maybe. I don't think so. Pretty hardcore Mexican.
So what did you find out with your DNA test?
That I'm pretty hardcore Mexican.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, pretty much like northern Mexico. What's that?
100% conquistador.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like northern Mexico. There was some islands, and I don't remember what island it was, but it wasn't Pacific Islands.
Okay.
Shucks. But I still say there was a mess up because I literally had just finished eating Mexican food, and one of the drinks I was drinking was Jamaica. I don't know if you know what that is, but
Of course, I know what that is.
okay. So I was drinking Jamaica, and I waited the hour or 2 hours, whatever the recommended thing. But when I spit into the thing, it was all red still. Like it was all
Oh
the
yeah,
Jamaica.
from the drink.
Yeah,
I think
so
it probably did have a little bit of that riboflavin or that like red dye or whatever in it, but
maybe it was a false test. Maybe I'm still related to The Rock.
maybe you are. You should try. Don't do it again because that's a waste of money. But yeah, all you need is a turtleneck and the chain and the fanny pack. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
You should be that for Halloween this year.
Right. No,
Beat
no
the Rock.
muscles, all panza. Let's go.
Be the Rock for Halloween, please.
La piedra, the boulder.
There you go, the boulder.
But yeah, that's the whole 23andMe thing or whatever I did.
Okay.
And yeah, not Hawaiian, at least not yet. But I think I want to do it one more time. But
yeah, I waited like a whole day because I was nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, how much percentage am I colonizer over indigenous? I was afraid, I was like, oh,
what if it came back that you weren't even indigenous or like a Native
I mean, that's
American?
no way that was possible because I know we know our roots, and my grandma clearly gave birth to my mom. She remembers, so it's like we knew that part was in it, but so the way we'll go back to the percentages. Okay, so the way the percentages work is like technically for my tribe. So I am Prairie Band Potawatomi. That's the tribe that I belong to. I'm a member of that tribe. There is a quantum blood percentage cutoff, and the cutoff is 1/8. And it shows that I'm 1/8 of that tribe, like that quantum blood. And the way that they trace that is through lineage, like your heritage of like who your great grandmother is, who your grandma is, who your mother is. So they have to have that documentation of showing who your family is, so we know who our family is. So based off of knowing that my grandmother was, Potawatomi, but they're also Sac and Fox. So we're two types of Native, but you can only be a member of one tribe. So we had to choose, are we going to be a member of the Sac and Fox tribe, or are we going to be a member of the Potawatomi tribe? There are more benefits to being a part of the Potawatomi tribe because there is a casino there. They do have gaming. They do have a golf course. All of that contributes to putting benefits back into the children's like futures. So they said financially it would be a better idea to enroll them into the Potawatomi tribe than the Sac and Fox tribe. Sac and Fox tribe is smaller. They have a casino, but it's a small casino, and there aren't much benefits to being that. So unfortunately, I can't claim both of being a member of both, but I have that blood in me as both. So if we want to say I'm one,
you decided to go for the Luxor instead of the Mirage.
Exactly. Well, my mom did. It wasn't me, but I still probably would have decided to be part of Potawatomi. But so whenever I have what's called a CDIB card, which shows the count of your blood count. So it's basically like quantum blood count identification card. That's what it is basically. And it says that I'm only 1/8. But
that's what my coworker was talking about.
Yes. So, but I have more blood in me that is Native that isn't, documented because I'm not allowed to like be a part of both. And then there's also Indigenous part, like blood from my grandfather, my mom's side, and my dad. So that's why my percentage rate is 47%, which is almost half.
Okay. So
yeah.
With growing up in similar cultures, or I guess comparing it to the Mexican culture, again going back to keep your head down and who do you think you are kind of stuff, and now you're at the level you are at now, next level. Where was there any like moment? Because like I'll paint it this way. My mom was always the person. My mom and dad, but my mom for the most part was do whatever you want, just do it right, and do it not like if it makes you happy, but if it does well for you, kind of thing. Like it.
Yeah.
But then when I was like, oh well, I want to do this. It's like, oh, do you really have to go that far? Like, kind of was like, kind of like not holding me back, but not wanting to let go too far.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went to college, was going to college. I know, like I brought it up earlier, that you kind of stopped and you did a 180, which I 100% admire when people do stuff like that. Like it's fucking nuts to me, and I really love the idea that someone can do this is not working out for me anymore, and I'm not happy. I'm gonna go try something that's probably gonna make me miserable for a long time, but if it hits, it's gonna be the best thing for me.
So I will tell you the story of how all that came about. It was less poetic than the way that you put it, honestly. I fucked up a lot, to be quite honest. Like I really messed up a lot, and I was a bad kid. I was very rebellious. I was always getting into fights. I wanted to be like a chola. I used to wear my little bangs down and like chucks and like
the Sharpie eyebrows.
I had these hook eyebrows. It was so disgusting and ugly. And I used to wear those.
Is she angry or is she surprised? I don't know.
I know, we could never tell. But like the belts that had the old English letters, like those little like rope.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Had those buckles, and you like spell your name out like vato, or whatever. I dressed like that. I had like old English everywhere, and I was just trying to be this little chola girl because I would prove I was Mexican to my Mexican friends. And then we went to
I think I have the worst belt. Worse than that. I found it. I was cleaning out some of my stuff for my parents, and I found this belt buckle. So I'm from Eagle Pass. The belt buckle was an eagle, like a fucking eagle.
Oh my God. Was it like a big one like this?
Like a big bronze eagle, just like
oh
like
man.
So Eagle Pass, also Mexican. So you have the Mexican eagle. So it was like you couldn't escape it. I was like,
oh my God.
I looked at it, was like cringy as fuck.
That is so hilarious. The things we did in high school to prove our Mexicano-is or whatever that is. But, like I was hardcore, like, because I left the res, then we went to Kansas City where I grew up with like my Mexican side of the family, and like I am this little like light-skinned girl. I don't speak Spanish. My dad doesn't speak Spanish, but everyone else in our family speaks Spanish. And so I was like, I had a complex. I was like, I don't speak Spanish. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I started trying to learn more. And then I got me, my brother, and my sister, my stepsister at the time, I got us all expelled. Like not really just expelled, but we were banned from the school district. Like that's how bad I was, that they were like, we don't want your kind here at all. So then we had to go to this like super hood school that was all.
Did you
like,
tell them which kind, the Mexican kind or the Indigenous?
I know, like what kind you talking about? They're like, whatever you are, we don't want it. So they kicked me out of the entire school district, and then we went to this like super Mexican school in the hood. It was Harmon High School in KCK in Wyandotte County. They used to call it Crime Dot. That's where I grew up because it was like the ghetto part of Kansas. So it was called Crime Dot, Wyandotte County. We went to Harmon. And we had like these little vatos and like gang members that would come spray paint our school. There was a freaking shooting the first day, a drive-by the first day I went to there. And then they had the highest pregnancy dropout rate. Everyone was getting pregnant. My best friend from 8th grade and 9th grade got pregnant with her first child. And she had 2 children by the time she was a senior in high school. So this gives you a broadened scope of like what type of high school I went to. So I was trying to prove like I was down, because I was always getting picked on for quote unquote being a pretty girl. And I had to like defend myself. But then it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, if I just become mean and intimidating and just start beating girls up, like they'll stop messing with me. So you couldn't even look at me wrong. And I would be like, what are you looking at? And I would like fight you. It was so crazy. I was crazy. So anyways.
I love it. That's awesome.
Fast forward to I got kicked out of entire school district, and I was like, okay, I got to be a good kid now. So I had to have at 15 years old, I had to have a real solid talk with myself, because I couldn't go to school for months until the expulsion was like lifted, and then I had to go to a whole new school district, you know, and this was when I went to the hood school. So we were at a really good school, and then I got us all kicked out because my dad was trying to like make sure we got the best education. You know how like Mexican American families are, and just families in general. If you grew up in the hood, they want better for you. They don't want you to walk the same road that they did, because there's not a lot of privilege or opportunity there. So he was trying his best to do something good for us, and I fucked it up because I was bad. I was a bad girl. So I was like disappointing my parents, you know. They were like, what's going on with you? Like, you're crazy. And I was like, I know, I don't know. So I had to have a real hard talk with myself and try to figure out, like, how do I change as a person? At 15, I had to have that talk with myself. I'm like, I'm done being this bad girl. I want to be a good kid. I want to go to college. I want a brighter future. Like, I want to prove that I'm not like a mistake, you know, of a child. Like, I want to do something good.
And was that just like a self-talk, or was that like some kind of, well, it wasn't like a huge realization of like, oh man, I
mean, it was both, you know. It was a realization of like, I was screwing up really bad. I literally was like one misdemeanor charge away from being put in juvenile detention center. So I had like misdemeanors, battery charges like against me for fighting people. And I had one more opportunity, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do with that. Like, do I want to keep going down this path and being this crazy, out of control kid and like end up with another misdemeanor and then go to juvenile hall? Like, am I really built for that? I mean, at the time I felt probably like I was, but I was like, this should not be my reality. So I had to change. And so we went, you know, I was able to go to this new school, which was super ghetto. And I was like, I know it's going to be tempting because people are going to want to fight. There's a lot of gang violence and a lot of like things going on, but I had to like keep my head down and like go to school and get good grades. And I started playing sports, and I became the quote unquote golden child. My principal literally used to call me the golden child. And I helped raise like over $500,000 for our school to like get the our football field like restored and stuff. And I was like on every committee, doing everything, National Honor Society, played soccer. Like, I was doing everything right. Got a full ride scholarship to go to college, and I got accepted into a Big 12 university, which had never happened in my family. I was the first.
What were you gonna go for?
I was actually going for marketing.
Okay. Is that how did you get into that Hispanic Bez Fest?
I'll tell you.
That was still high school, right? Or no?
Yeah, that was high school. So that was one of the programs that I was introduced to, called BizFest, where you write business plans and you compete for scholarship money. And so I won like third place or something like that. And then I just kept showing up to like the opportunities that they would call me for. They would be like, hey, you want to come back and like talk to our students? Or I was doing like stuff with them. And so I became really well connected with the people in the organization, people that were leading that. So yeah, so I just became this like golden child, and just really like was trying to do more with my life. And I got really passionate about being successful. And then I go to college, and then I was faced with the same obstacles that most kids from my community face, which is not really being prepared educationally, but also like having that discipline within ourselves to like keep going to class every day. And it's not even just from my neighborhood or from my town or my city that I grew up in, but it's a lot of students have the opportunity to go to college and have no supervision from their parents. And I was like, my dad was super strict on me. Like, I couldn't have sleepovers. I couldn't go over to people's house and hang out with them because I was bad. And he was afraid that I was going to like go run off and get into a fight, or go run off and be with a boy or something. So my dad was like really, really strict with me. So the moment that I had freedom, I went crazy. And I was at school partying. I got in trouble with alcohol in my dorm. Like, I made all the mistakes that you should not be making on your freshman year. And I
think the only mistake was you getting caught.
That was but you know, I wasn't going to class, and I was just getting caught up with the wrong things, and I wasn't, you know, doing my best. And so I ended up actually getting really bad grades, and the dean was like, you have one chance to like, either you're going to come back and you have to be like basically on
academic probation.
And so that summer after my freshman year, I went home and my dad was like, he got that letter in the mail and he was super disappointed in me. And I actually just didn't go back to school. Like me and my dad got into this huge fight, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to stay here with you. And I had nowhere else to go. And this was another time I was like couch surfing. I'm 18 years old. My dad and I got into a fight. He basically kicked me out of his house. And I was like, okay, well, where am I going to go? I tried to go sleep on my brother, his couch for a little bit. And I was like, I'm just going to go get my own apartment. And I'm going to try to go to school here and try to figure my life out as a 18, 19-year-old kid. And here I am faced with another grueling, hard decision. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to try to go back to college for a second year? Am I going to just get my own apartment here in LA or here in Kansas City and get a job and figure my life out? So I ended up just getting my own apartment. I was doing my own thing. I had 3 jobs I was working. I was trying to go to school part-time. I lost my scholarship. And I messed up again. So it took, a lot of messing up to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it took about 4 years, we'll say 4 years of me trying different things, trying out different jobs. I worked at car dealerships for 4 years, got my first really big, job as a manager. And I was making great money, and I was like, oh, I don't have to have a college degree to make good money in the car industry. And I did that for a while. And then I just this passion for cooking it didn't come out of nowhere. So the part about where the passion for cooking comes in is it comes from my dad's side of the family, the Mexican American side. So my grandmother was a baker, and I had 2 uncles that owned restaurants. And my dad loves to cook. And so everyone from my Mexican side, they all love cooking. And everyone's really competitive also. And so when we would have Christmas or Thanksgiving or these holidays, everyone would bring food. And my dad would be like, oh, my turkey's better than yours, or or my tamales taste better or whatever. And so it was just always a very competitive environment for me to grow up in. And also this family's love for food was next level, and so that was instilled into me. I know it was just instilled into me to have that passion as well, and to understand the importance of cooking and the importance of food bringing family together and friends together. And that passion was always there, but it didn't get ignited until I was in my early 20s, and I just started diving deep into food, and I was plating it off cute. And I was exploring different cuisines. And my friends were like, you're actually really good at this. You should go to culinary school. And I was like, yeah, right. And my friend, her name is Anne. I always call her, I'm always had it not been for you suggesting culinary school, I probably would have never even thought that was an option for me. And then one day I saw this commercial on the TV, and it was hey, we're advertising for tours of this culinary school that's in Kansas City, Missouri. I was like, what? No way. I know. So I called the number, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to do this tour. So I saw it on TV. The next day they scheduled my tour. I went in the next day, did the tour, was absolutely swept off my feet. Something just spoke to me, and I was just like, wow, I feel like this is what I need to do. And the lady was like, yeah, you seem really interested. So these are our programs. You can start in the fall. She's like, if you really want to start, we have a program starting with the class in 3 weeks. And she was like, I know that's a quick turnaround. And for some people it might be a little scary because you have to figure out how you're going to pay for it. But if you want us to help you, we'd be happy to sign you up today. But it has to be today or within this week to get you enrolled. And I was like,
a lot of that sounds real scam mail too.
It does, doesn't it? We gotta sign up today or never, but it's now or never.
The deal is now.
Well, I just sat there with it for a moment, and I thought about it, and I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to culinary school. I'm going to get educated about food. I'm excited about it. This seems so cool and amazing. And so I signed up for classes that day, and I started going to culinary school in the evening. So I was still working my full-time car dealership job during the day. And then at night I was going to school, and I absolutely fell in love with it. That was that moment of clarity of this is where I should be. I didn't feel more comfortable anywhere else than in that kitchen, learning what I was learning, being there with the other students and being around people that are just as passionate about something that you are. It kind of ignites that fire a little bit more, and it it fuels you to keep on that journey.
Does
And
it
so,
help also that like you're seeing the end result, like the hard work you're putting in, you're seeing it right away almost?
yeah, because cooking is one of those things where you can put a lot of emotion, a lot of energy into it, and then at the end of the day, like you give it to someone and their eyes are like, it's that
Yeah.
instantaneous like that reward, it's like that quick reward of like, we know that what we did just really like was good for that person and they loved it and they're giving you gratitude and they're like, wow, they're praising your food or whatever. I fell in love with that and just being able to create experiences for people, especially growing up where, like we did grow up poor, and so we were only eating like certain types of food. And when I went to culinary school, I was like, wow, look at all these spices and this like sauce and these like products and this cut of meat and these things that I had never eaten before and that I've never had. And I get to be educated on that and then cook it for my family and like, oh, this is what I've learned. And it was also like giving a gift to them as well. And my dad was like, what are you doing? Like, are you joking? Like, why do you want to be a chef? And he tried in a way to kind of talk me out of it and was like, if you want to be a chef, like you're going to be in the kitchen, standing up all day, the hours are long, you're not going to get paid very well. And like, it's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And he was like, basically talking it down. And me being the rebellious person was like, nah, I don't care what you say. I'm going to do what I want to do. You don't know it all, And so
But
I just kept.
in a turn, it's also like he's like, and I'm saying, looking from my mom's perspective, like kind of afraid of what work. Because like, if you think about it, like, and not to talk down on people that work for fast foods, but the thought of working for a kitchen, it also it feels like you're working minimum wage and you're working long hours, and it's almost like in that route, like you're taking a back seat. Oh,
Yes.
and in a certain, and again, like I said, I'm not talking bad about people that work in fast foods for whatever reason. It sounds like I'm saying it bad, but I'm not.
No, but I totally understand what you're saying. Like I work in the culinary industry. I worked in a restaurant post show, which is another story. Post, filming for Gordon Ramsay. I'd never worked in a restaurant before. And so I was like, a lot of these chefs like Chef Ramsay and Naisha Arrington and Richard Blaze, they all worked in restaurants and they know that like that hard work, and how much you have to sacrifice and how much you have to work towards your goals, even harder working in the culinary or in the industry, the culinary world. And so I didn't know what that felt like because as soon as I left school, I started being a private chef and I was like, I was taking on my own clients, doing my own thing, which I was taking the knowledge that I earned or that I learned in these classes and these courses, but that only got me so far. And I was like, I feel like I only know so much. I need to learn more. How else am I going to learn this if I'm not working with other people? So I decided to go work in a restaurant for a couple of months. And let me tell you, like, that is like that type of work, like you got to be built for that type of work because those hours are ridiculously long. And
So
the competition is, and the too hard, too fast, like it can beat you down. And that's why there is so much drug addiction and alcohol addiction revolved around the culinary world, because you have these people that are so passionate about what they do. They love it, but it's not really rewarding at the end of the day. And not a lot of people respect people that cook in the culinary world or like cook in restaurants, regardless if it's a fast food restaurant, a TGI Fridays, an Applebee's, or in a 5 Michelin star. Like those people are more respected because they're they have like all the notoriety. But our parents, looking from an outside perspective that everyone else was looking at, is like, they're not getting paid anything. They don't have a pension. They don't have a 401k. The servers get paid more than the chefs do in the back sometimes, or like the cooks. So it's like, I can understand why my dad was concerned about me. But at the same time, I was like, I didn't want to hear anything he said. I was like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. My mom, on the other hand, she's super supportive. She's like, okay, if that's what you want, I'm happy for you, But I also come from a family that my mom got pregnant when she was 14 years old. And she didn't even graduate high school. She had to go back and get her GED in her 20s. And my dad didn't graduate from high school either. My brother dropped out of school of 6th grade. So that's the type of family that I grew up in. So even just to get that far in life should have been enough,
Yeah, I get it. And I get it in the fact in two ways. I did work for Burger King when I was either a junior or senior in high school, and I was
Mhm.
like, it's not for me. Like I can't do it.
It's hard.
I did. I think I don't even know how much I did, like 8 months to a year. And I was like, no, I can't do it. Um, but which is also like why I said like I don't want to talk down about it because I know a lot of them. There was people that were way older than me working. Like that was their way to provide for their family. So and they were killing it. They did their job and they were amazing. That's why I said I don't want to talk negative about it. But I also see the fact like in your family where it's like they want they want the best of you and for
Mhm.
you. So when you choose something like this, it's like
Yeah.
it's hard because it goes along with the who do you think you are? Like that's for somebody else kind of
Mhm.
thing. But it's
Yeah.
also it's hard to get like my mom with this like this whole podcast thing is like the way I tell her what I'm doing. It's like I just interview people. Like I just want to talk to people. So she goes, okay, well you can talk to people anywhere. It's like it's a whole internet thing. And she's like, okay, I don't care. It's like as
Yeah.
long as you're happy. It's like, but it's not my day job right now, like if it does, then who knows? But if not, then at least I had fun doing it, you know?
But
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and also our parents are from a different era. You know what I mean? Where and and come from different walks of life where they, like you said, they just want better for us. And it's not that my dad was a bad dad. He wasn't. He was a great dad. He was hard on me and wanted me to do more with my life to the point where, it's not that he was trying to talk me out of it. He was just trying to be like talk reason with me, like, hey, I'm just letting you know, like, this is what it is. And you should probably look into something a little bit more safe. Have something saved up at the end of the day and at the end of your life so that you don't have to keep working into your 60s and 70s like me and your mom probably will, They just want what's best for
Yeah,
us.
something
But
sturdy and
exactly.
reliable. That's
But
what I
we
was trying to say. You said it
rely
better.
yeah. And so, but the era that you and I are growing up in is there's this world of opportunity, and we have social media, we have the internet, we have the interwebs, we have all of these platforms that will allow us to have the opportunity to be successful. And a lot of it they don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. And I don't try to make them understand. I think for you, I don't know. Do you think they understand now what you're doing?
You know what? My dad actually, to kind of dive into that part of me being homeless. We are we allowed to bring that up now? Because I know you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
whatever
later.
you want.
So when I moved to LA, the story goes is I graduated from my program and I became a private chef. I was still working full time at the car industry, doing part-time private chef, but I couldn't get my business really like off the ground because in Kansas City, because there weren't at that time a lot of people that understood what the hell private chef was. They're like, everyone here cooks for their family, it's like one of those wholesome family area, places where it's like people either don't have the money to pay for a private chef or they don't understand why they would ever even need one if they cook the food themselves. And my goal was to like push nutrition, and nutrition in a place like Kansas like almost didn't exist at that time because you have barbecue, you have all the burger joints, you have all the like when you go out to a restaurant, everyone expects to get a big portion of food. And when you give them like a little bit of portion, they don't understand why you're doing it. So like fine dining really wasn't a thing there at that time. I think now it's changed a little bit, but it's not like you're not going to see like a tasting menu Michelin star restaurant in Kansas because I don't think that those people like I'm those people because I am from Kansas too. I don't think Kansas people like it doesn't like reside with them. They don't value that, whereas people from, LA, there's a lot of foodies here. There's a lot of people that understand that the level of like complexity it takes to create those type of foods and menus and like the taste of flavors or whatever. You get what I'm trying to say.
I
So
do, but also like does that some of that come with like snootiness where it's like they really don't understand what's the complexity.
I
They
don't
just
think
think
it has,
it's
yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with snootiness. I just think it has everything to do with like In the Midwest,
Instagram of it.
everybody just wants to eat potatoes and steak in the Midwest. So for me to try to be a private chef,
the meat and potatoes. That's where it comes from, right?
Yeah. So they just want, they want what they want. But for me as a chef, it was hard to build a business there. So I had a friend that kept telling me, like, Pyet, you're bigger than Kansas City. Like, you need to get out of there. Like, come to LA. I'm going to move there. Like, you should move in with me. And she like really sparked that little like thing in me that was like, maybe I could be doing anything that I want. Like, everything that I'm doing now, I can do anywhere else. I was working in the industry, the car industry, making great money. I was the youngest person and the most qualified person to work my job, which is being a BDC manager. And I worked for General Motors. And I was going into the dealerships and creating like these customer service hubs, and I was really good at it. And I could do that anywhere. I came here to LA and I was like, okay, I'm going to move. I finally moved, pack up me, Merlot, my cat, and like whatever didn't fit in my car didn't go with me. So I just packed my car up, drove across the United States. But I had this guy that I was dating, and he was kind of not the reason why I wanted to move, but I was planning to move here already. But just dating him kind of like sped up the process, because he was like, oh, you can move in with me and like I'll help you out, like get grounded and get your feet on the ground. And so I was like, okay. So I moved in with this guy. We dated for about 2.5 years. We ended up breaking up. But during that time frame, I was trying to build my business, and I was like doing a really good job at it. So I started like meal prepping. The first client I ever had, his name is Justin. He's still my friend to this day. He was my first client that he was like, hey, because I was doing meal prepping and I was going into this gym, and I was like, hey, here, I have these meals. It was a CrossFit gym. I was like, I have these meals. I see you have meal preps here from this brand, but my food's better. Like, just try it out. Let me know if you like it. If you like it, like, I'll come bring food. You guys can pay me to bring the food, and then you can sell the food to your clients, or they can just pay me directly. Or here's samples. I just want to get my food out there. And just by doing that allowed me to get one client. And that one client was like, this is great. This is phenomenal. It's a great price, great value. So he started, telling all his friends about it. And then it just like snowball effect. But I wasn't making enough money. And I was just cooking out of the kitchen that I lived in like this apartment in Hollywood. And I got to the point where I was cooking so much that it was like great. It was like wearing me down. So I was cooking like 217 meals every week by myself. And of course I was grateful for it, because I eventually got to quit the car industry, go be a full-time chef. So after 6 months of living in LA, I was like, I'm quitting my job. I'm not working in the car industry anymore. I'm not passionate about that. I'm going to do what I'm passionate about, and I'm going to be a full-time chef. I'm going to dedicate everything to being a chef, because it deserves all of my energy and attention. Once I started doing that, that's when the clients really started coming. So I was able to put more focus into it. And then, but I still wasn't making enough money to like really be able to save. It was kind of just staying afloat and like contributing to the household situation.
Just getting by.
Exactly. And then the breakup happens, and I'm not even making enough money to afford my own apartment. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but like getting an apartment in LA is ridiculous. Like, they want you to show proof of income for 3 times the amount of rent that you're renting for. And it's like, okay, what? Why do you need that? Like, they want you to have an immaculate credit score. They want your firstborn child, they want everything has to be so like to the T legit. It's so incredibly hard to get qualified for places around here. So there's no way I was going to have the ability to go get my own place. So I was homeless after that. Like, we broke up. I had to put a bunch of my stuff into a storage unit, and I packed 2 suitcases and my cat, and it was just me, my cat, and my car, and 2 suitcases in my trunk for almost a year. And I was just couch surfing, because I was like
couch surfing, you mean like with random people like you don't even know?
Well, I was couch surfing with people that I did know. So I would have one friend that was like, hey, you can come stay in my spare bedroom while my husband is away for work. And so I would go stay with one friend. And then another friend was like, hey, you can come crash on my couch if you want to. And then I did that for a year, and then just kind of stayed.
Listen, why does the husband have to be away for you to go?
Well, because she had just had a baby, and I was there helping her with her baby so she wouldn't be alone. There was no there was no affair happening, if that's what you're doing. But yeah, so it was really, really rough, and it was honestly the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever done. I had to basically let go of all of my meal prep clients because I had no kitchen to cook out of. So my business went to shit. Like, it was just dissolved. And I was like, what am I going to do to make money? So I just started applying for different positions everywhere that I could, where I could cook. I was doing cooking demos at Sur La Table, I was a chef instructor there. I was doing, I worked at a hair salon as a manager just to like make some money.
Yeah.
I was just doing all the odd jobs just to try to save money and get back onto my feet. And then finally, I was just so fed up. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't have a place to live. My family's like, come back home. My dad was like, hey, you should really like think about stopping this. Like, you're not doing much out there. So why don't you come home? And finally I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of you doubting me. And as long as I have this passion, this fuel burning inside me, I'm just going to keep going until I no longer have it. But every day that I wake up that I have it, it's one more day that I'm going to keep trying to like do something with this passion of mine. So that's eventually what led me into honing in on my cultural heritage and bringing that forward.
Was
Long
there ever
story, but that's how it goes.
No, listen, that I try not to interrupt as much, but I have a really bad habit of like trying to cut stuff, like serious stuff with like stupid stuff and funny stuff.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what I was saying. Like you said it was poetic, but no, I truly freaking admire like somebody that has the guts or the brains or just the will to just fucking like, all right, I'm not in a good place and I'm gonna make something better of it, regardless of what it is. And you hear it all the time. It's like, I was homeless and now I have this. I was I don't know, I was miserable at my job and I quit without having a plan, and then I decided to do this. And so I always find those stories like really inspiring and cool to listen to, because I have certain goals that I'm working towards, but I don't see myself like quitting my job right now to do it, because it's like, well, I have a good job, but also I love doing something else and I feel like I can make something out of it.
But at the same time, and that's perfectly okay. Not everybody's road to happiness and success and fulfillment is the same. Like,
Right.
no one's path is the same. There might be success stories that have similarities, but none of them are the same. And so whatever feels right to you intuitively, follow that. That's one thing that I have. Like, I get hired now that I've won this amazing show and I've done all this amazing stuff with my life. People hire me just to go in and talk to Indigenous kids to inspire them to be more, to do more, not with just in their community, but within the world. And one thing that I tell them is like, those core beliefs that we have, which I'm sure you have some core beliefs like instilled into you from your parenting, from your family, like your parents, like teaching you, intuitively follow that, follow your heart, follow your dreams. And what that really translates to is follow your intuition, and only you know what's right for you intuitively. Like, you get that gut feeling when you're doing something bad. You know what I mean? You're like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. That's in your intuition saying, bitch, don't do it. Like,
Yes.
But there's
The
also
good kind.
the feeling that says, this is it. Yeah, do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's your intuition telling you like something. So do whatever feels intuitively an alignment for you. With
Yeah,
that,
and it sounds super corny to say follow your heart and all that, but that's the best way to put it that you just did. Follow your intuition, because it really is. You have that bad intuition, you have that good intuition of, now this feels right. There's something here, whether you know what it is or not yet. There's something there if you just continue like on the path.
Yeah.
I love that. So I know we said not to keep it too long. So let's just talk a little bit more on the chef, next level chef. The show was amazing. I'm a fan. I want to say something that's gonna make you click off and hate me.
That's okay.
But I have to be honest with you.
Yeah. Who did you want to win?
Say whatever you want. Well, I mean, if you started watching the Amber episode, I don't know how far you got, but Oh, we were supposed to also talk about something else that's always save it for the show. Bro.
It's
Oh, the
okay.
safe word. I guess we didn't need a safe
We
word.
don't even need any more.
So anyway, I told her that I originally was rooting for Ruel.
Pick me. Please pick me.
I don't know what it was about him. I just gravitated to him. And I told her, like, I'm going to tell you, the show somehow, you don't really find out too much about the contestants because it's not like Hell's Kitchen where you see the after stuff that they do afterwards and all that. And you can see like the inner workings of how they scheme or how they flirt or whatever they do afterwards. And you kind of see, oh, that person is so-and-so or is like this. You guys are just there showing your food. You can kind of see a little bit of scheming and whatever the show did, it was refreshing. And I'm a sucker for food shows.
Yeah.
But
they produced it really, really well.
Yes. So completely sucker for food shows. And I first saw it, I think when it was first airing, but I was in Austin in a hotel and we were gonna go to a hockey game. And so I was just put it on as background noise and I got like suckered in. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta go. So then I almost completely forgot about it, but not because of the own doing. It was just like I said earlier, there's too much to watch. So I always had intentions to come back because I was like, this show has something. So anyways, Ruel, but then I found Amber's from Texas and I was like, oh, I'm going for the Texas girl.
Yeah.
And
she's cute and she's got a good personality.
no, I was gonna say no, like no, it's like no.
Well, I mean, that's like it's an image thing. Like she's from Texas and she has that Texas personality too.
Is that a thing? I just gotta stay true to Texas. This is how true to Texas I get. Say so. I gotta stay true to Texas.
Okay.
So
Stay
like,
Texas. So you're going for the Texas girl.
Yeah, for the Texas girl. But then I started finding out there was other Texas people there, whether they moved to Texas or that were from Texas and moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, anyways, are you clicking off yet?
No, I'm listening.
All right. The reason I did not want to choose you, even though everything said, "Oh, Mexican, hell yeah, let's go," even if she is just half.
Even if she's just a half-breed güera, we don't care. We'll still claim her.
Yeah, right. Bring her. We'll take her back with us. Get in the car. We all fit.
Exactly.
No. The thing that was about you was, you had that American Idol second place winner thing about you.
What does that mean?
And I promise that's a compliment.
What does that even mean?
It's a compliment to where it almost would offend Amber and it would offend Ruel. And that's what it means is like, if you an American Idol, you almost forget the champ that wins.
Okay.
But the second place winner is the one that goes on and has the big career because they have the talent or the charisma, whatever. You had that. So for me, it was like, if she
she's gonna be fine regardless if she wins the show or not.
That's what I thought. Okay. That's what I thought. So, and I don't want to offend Amber, Ruel, or anybody else. Like they're even watching this, but I don't want to offend any of them and their own talents. But for me, that's what I thought. I was like, no matter what happens to Pyet, she's gonna be fine because there's the thing that I noticed from you from the beginning was you were it seemed very timid, and it could be producing and editing, but you seemed very timid. But then towards the end, you were way more passionate and way more outspoken. And so I was like, that was transition.
True. That was all the way true because when we first started filming, I was afraid and I felt imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I don't have a chance. You know, when I'll be completely honest, when I went into this competition, I was like, I'm just here for the clout. Like, I'm gonna be here for a few episodes, get my name next to Gordon Ramsay's. Like, I was on TV. I'm Gucci. Like, I'm out, you know? And then but I mean, even though I was super passionate about being Native and being Mexican American and like putting both of my, because the big part of what I do is like, I put both of my cultures on the plate. The way that they wanted to produce it is one thing. The way that I said it was another. So I was constantly talking about being from both. At the finale, like where I won everything, my speech I was like, not only am I a Native American woman, but I'm also Latina. Like I say that specifically because I want it to be known. Like I come from both sides, you know, and my family also grew up, you know, having struggles as Latino people and that discriminative part of it and like the cultural and the traditions. Like I grew up that way too. So I say that on my finale speech where I'm like talking to them. I was like, I feel like I'm a part of history. They cut all of that shit out. They don't put that one thing about me being Mexican American. Maybe like once or twice it's put in there. But they had this goal to highlight my indigenous side, and that's what they decided to do. So that's just what happened, you know.
You don't have to mute yourself. I can edit around the other stuff.
Oh my god, this cat, she's fucking being creepy. But yeah, so I get it. So you wanted to go with Ruel. Ruel was amazing, like amazing. And he intimidated me. So when they would ask like who's your biggest like threat, I would be like Ruel, because he has so much knowledge. Like he has so much experience. Like he knows the hustle, you know, he knows the grind, and he has that level.
He also was in the kitchen more than you were, right? Like he had more background in the kitchen.
Yeah, in an actual kitchen. And so that amount of knowledge and like his cooking techniques, I was like, his cooking techniques alone, like they put me in the dust, you know what I mean? And I thought for sure, I was like, if you know, and the thing about it is like the people that were in that finale, which was me, Mariah, and Ruel, like each and every one of us was so deserving. I would never be like, oh, I deserved it more than they did. Like I would have been over the moon if either of those two won the show, because Mariah also is an incredible flavor palette bomb shell. Like she's so knowledgeable herself. And I got to cook with her the first episode where we were cooking for the judges to pick which team, you know. I was hoping that I would be on her team because I wanted to learn some stuff from her, because I saw her in that first round cooking and I was like, dang, this girl knows what she's doing. She can throw down in the kitchen. And so, but yeah, like
that's such a political way to answer this. Just say you deserved it and you want it, and you're the chump.
No, I'm not gonna say that.
Okay, fine. I said it for
you. I will say,
I'm kidding, by the way.
No, but I will say this. I walking into the finale, like the finale, like cook-off, I knew I was gonna win. Like I was like a little nervous, you know, because I was like, is it enough? Did I do enough? There were a few parts that I like really messed up on. And I was like, maybe those errors were going to prevent this from happening for me. But like intuitively, let's talk about our intuition again. Intuitively, like I called both of my mom, my mom, my dad, and my best friend. I told them all that morning. I was like, I'm just going to let you know, I'm winning this. Like I've already. And my mom, like to this day, both my mom, my dad, they get goosebumps every time we talk about it. They're like, you called us that morning. You're like, that you said you were going to win it, like that you knew you were going to win it. I was like, I knew. I'm a very spiritual person. When I listen to that intuition and I pray, and like it's not that God comes down and talks to me, but like I like intuitively feel and know, and I get a knowing of something, and that's just a part of like who I am as a human being, is like really trying to connect deeper, which is why I choose not to drink alcohol and do sobriety challenges from time to time. But I fucking knew I was going to win it. And Mariah knew. She told me in the elevator before we even went out for that final judgment. She was like, you won on the elevator. So the thing is, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say I deserved it more than anyone else, but I knew going into that challenge, I was like, I knew at the end of it, I was going to win. But hearing the words and like when it actually happened was like, I blacked out. Like I was like, holy shit, I cannot believe it. I can, but I can't. You know, it was crazy.
Yeah. No, and you're right. Like you shouldn't say you deserve it, or nobody should say, because we can't judge on who deserves what. But yeah, I think that's freaking cool that you're in tune enough to know that, but also very gutsy and risky to think that way. At least where I feel like I'm very much, if I think something's gonna go, like I'm like, oh, it's a done deal. Unless it's a done deal, I don't feel like it's a done deal, because then I'm like, I just jinxed myself.
Yeah. I mean, you have that fear also, but But yeah, Ruel was amazing, and you're not wrong for wanting him to win. Like, he's so great. Like, he's
But Piet, let's stick back to the fact that I wanted him to win because I knew you had. I felt like you had the talent to do whatever you wanted,
yeah,
without even knowing you.
yeah.
Just watching the show. So
I appreciate you saying that.
well, let's end with this because I like I said, I don't want to keep it too long, and I want to stay okay.
You
with
don't
your
want
time.
it to be too long, too hard, too fast, right?
I do joke about I hate editing 2-hour episodes, but I love having 3 to 4 hour conversations, and I've had that.
Yeah.
I enjoy that, but I also have to respect y'all's time.
Yeah. So the thing about me is I talk too much.
No, but you've talked perfectly enough with the stuff you said. Like I really felt inspired. So
well, I just want to thank you for asking me to be on this podcast. I think that you have a great sense of humor and personality, and I hope that this goes long term for you and you get to reach all your wildest dreams with this, whatever that may be.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was trying to make a joke with that, and I lost it as you were saying that because that's nice words, and then I'm really bad at compliment taking. I'm gonna cry, but let's end with 2 questions.
Okay.
First one, how has your besides the money prize and the one-on-one, or do you still keep in contact with them?
Yeah, so I had a 1-year mentorship with all 3 judges. I had 4 months with Naisha that came and went. I have 4 months with Richard Blaze right now, and then I have 4 months with Gordon Ramsay.
The dreamy Gordon Ramsay.
The dreamy Gordon Ramsay. He's a great looking guy, honestly. He's tall too. He's taller than I ever thought he was, but he's really, really sweet. His personality is amazing. So I have 4 months with him at the end of the year. But life post show is actually like kind of hard for me, going from an extreme change of like the grind and the hustle and the everyday, like getting up early in the morning and working hard and like trying to because I, got more into private chefing and doing private dinners and everyday chefing for people, like rich people. It was hard to go from, paycheck to paycheck, the hustle and bustle, and then leave this show, filming for the show and not being able to tell anybody what had just happened. If I won the show, if I didn't win the show, I didn't even know when I was going to get paid. I was like, I had to go back to that lifestyle, knowing that what just happened was really, really hard for me. And then I ended up losing a friend during the show, to suicide. She took her life. And so I was also battling that while I was on the show, which made it even harder. So I didn't have that time to really process everything. So post show, I took it really hard, just that transition in life. And I had to get back on track and to reconnect and be regrounded. So it was really hard for me. But post finale, when everyone knew about me winning the show, the world knew, things obviously, like all the opportunities came, but most of all, the most valuable opportunity that I've ever been given has been the opportunity to represent Indigenous people and have them call me and ask me to come talk to their students and to come be on their reservation and learn, food, the food sovereignty and like the Indigenous food ways, and just that re-education for myself of relearning information that was taken away from us. So that's been the biggest prize of all of it, because that's information that's going to surpass me, that's going to be handed down from generation to generation. So that's the biggest prize that I could ever ask for in this lifetime.
That's cool. And it's very, I don't know what the word is, honorable or just very good, I guess, for a lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But, and I should say that your Instagram life looks amazing. So
thanks. It is. My life is amazing. It is. I have the freedom to do whatever I want, and it's amazing. I wish this same freedom for so many people.
Perfect. So Final question, but before I get to that, where can people find you and get more information on you and all the good stuff?
So I predominantly use Instagram as my social media outlet. I do have a what's it called? I do have a TikTok. So I have Instagram, I have TikTok, and I have a YouTube channel. If you watch the YouTube channels, you can learn more about indigenous food ways and the teachings and just the history of our food. And so it's at Chef Pyet on all those platforms.
Perfect. And with the power of editing, it showed up somewhere here and it's in the descriptions. And final question.
Yes.
Do you have a too hard, too fast story that you feel comfortable sharing with us? Either a time you got too drunk to function, some cautionary tales, a funny story, so maybe something that happened to you in the kitchen, anything you feel comfortable sharing.
Oh man, I do have a funny story. It's I actually had one I was just telling the other day about that was really funny. Okay, so too hard, too fast would be, it's not what you think, but I was on a boat and I was, as a chef, like sailing between two islands, and the captain, it was in the middle of the night, wasn't paying attention. I was in the down under area, like cooking in the kitchen, and I was like cooking lobster. And we hit this, he's going too hard and too fast. He hit this fucking coral reef.
Ooh.
And just, like right down.
Cracked the boat.
And the motor on the back of the boat broke off. So we got stranded out in the middle of the ocean between Maui and Oahu for 6 hours. We had to be emergency rescued from the Coast Guard. And the guy that was on the boat was the super like wealthy, like 80-year-old Australian cowboy. Like he was a fucking hoot. And super inappropriate dude, just said whatever he wanted when he wanted. And he's like so rich, whatever. But he had a bad like hip, so we couldn't get him off the boat because the boat was too rocky. It was like swaying back and forth. So they were going to have to do an emergency airlift. And finally, he was like, you know what? He won medals for swimming, I guess, back in Australia. And so he's like, I'm just going to jump off this boat and I'm going to save and rescue myself. So he did. He jumped off the boat. The Coast Guards couldn't save him. So someone ended up getting in the water and like getting a little like not jet skis, those little water boogie thingy. I don't know what they're called. And they're like dragging him across the fucking ocean over to the lifeguard boat or the Coast Guard boat that rescued us. And he looks up at the Coast Guard and he's like, "Hey mates, thanks for nothing." And he was like, "Fucking bloody bastards, it's your job to save my life and you couldn't even do that." But it was absolutely fucking terrifying because I was like, this is how I die, like in the middle of the damn ocean, like sailing between two islands. But now we can look back at it and laugh of like how funny that guy was. But that would be my story about Too Hard Too Fast and that stupid ass captain that fucking hit the coral reef.
Yeah, you had a little mini Titanic moment.
Yeah, so that's my story.
I appreciate it. That's a Too Hard Too Fast story right there. Your shirt says Indigenous.
Yeah, so I actually designed this shirt myself. So here in the little O is a medicine wheel. So yeah, this is my Indigenous shirt.
Nice. So where do people get it?
I sell these on my website at pietsplate.com.
Nice. Perfect. I don't sell any of mine stuff, so
not yet.
Not yet. But for guests, it's not much, but it's a little gift. So if you send me where I can mail you, this is yours. You got two koozies and a little cartoon George.
Yay! I need koozies, so that's perfect. It's a perfect gift.
So you'll just tell me where to send, and I'll send it.
Okay, well.
Not right here, but like message me or something.
I will. Yeah.
Perfect. And then and that's it. We've just gone Too Hard Too Fast with the Chef Champ, the next level chef. Yeah, that's right. I said it wrong. The next level Chef Champ, the first ever next level winner.
Very first.
You can't take that away for nothing, man.
Oh, not for nothing.
Not for nothing, I say. But I appreciate you being on here. I would love if you ever have time to make time for Too Hard Too Fast. I would love to have you back on. Maybe we can talk mess on season 2. Hey. But with that said, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Bye.
Bye.